And I'm gonna push this button and ask her to just hang on just 1 second while I introduce her. I'm gonna highlight a young person from around here, actually, an 18-year-old senior at Cypress Woods High School who happens also to be lead youth for Sea Scouts for the Scouts Council for South Texas. That's Midland to San Antonio to Houston, a pretty big chunk of land, roughly the size of New England. We were talking about that perspective earlier. She's also an Eagle Scout, accepted at Mississippi State, but still not sure where she's going to continue her education. I'm sure there'll be a lot more schools knocking at your door, Jewell Norris. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great.
So I wanted to ask you this morning about Sea Scouts specifically, which immediately makes me think of building a campfire and pitching a tent on the beach, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. What is Sea Scouts?
So Sea Scouts is a program under the Boy Scouts of America umbrella,
Okay.
and it's a different to Scouts BSA in the sense that we might go camping, we might have some campfires, but you're going to find it a little bit more common to be going out sailing every weekend or going on a motorboat, canoeing, kayaking, even going scuba diving.
Well, that's way more fun than just building a fire. Anybody can build a fire, right?
Yeah.
You can. I know you can. You're an Eagle Scout. You could build a fire with a paper cup and a battery, couldn't you? Probably.
I might be able to.
I bet you could. Yeah, you were already thinking about how to do it, weren't you?
Maybe.
So how old do you have to be to join Sea Scouts?
You have to be 14 years old.
And when do you have to quit Sea Scouts?
When you reach your 21st birthday.
Okay. And so you're 18, so you got 3 more years. You going to stick around?
I sure am.
Good for you. So what's the incentive? What other activities? Well, you mentioned a lot of things that I loved growing up. How much time do you get to spend on the water? How often do you guys get out?
We try to get out about once a month.
Okay.
So a pretty decent amount.
Yeah, I would say so. And I understand from Neil Farmer that you're a pretty good sailor. Is that true?
I would say so.
You could brag a little bit if you want to. Can you out race everybody else?
Yeah.
So what's the secret then? What do you do differently than they do?
Just having a good team, knowing your team really well, especially when you're doing larger boat sails, and making sure you're all working pretty fluently.
You know, you mentioned the team, and I think that's a big part of any kind of scouting. And I saw something just yesterday, Jewell, that said a team doesn't mean people who work together. A team is people who trust each other. You like that?
I do. I think that's a great definition.
It's a great way to live it. And I think about that around here. We work in teams just as you do in scouting, and you have to trust the other people in your team to do their jobs. Jewell Norris on the Doug Pike Show. Sea Scouts for young men and young women too, right?
Yes, sir.
How many people are Sea Scouts in this area? The one over which you rule, by the way. Did I get that right? You're pretty much it. You're the lead youth for Sea Scouts for the Scouts Council for South Texas. That's a pretty big job.
Yeah, so over all of South Texas and Louisiana, actually, we have about 3,000 scouts, so
nice.
A little bit larger area.
Now, do you get into kind of regional competitions with each other?
We actually do. We have something called the Co-Cup,
okay.
Which is actually a national competition, but to qualify for the Co-Cup, each territory will have their own qualifiers. So ours is the Aggie qualifier, which is coming up, actually.
And so have you and your team gathered enough trophies yet that somebody needs to build a new room?
Not quite yet.
But you're getting there, aren't you?
Of course.
Because you know you can take everybody, don't you? It's a good feeling, isn't it, Jewell?
It's definitely.
Now, talk about the ranks in Sea Scouting. How does that work?
Okay, so Sea Scout ranks are very similar to Scouts USA ranks, except there's only 4 of them. And your top rank is going to be your quartermaster, which is kind of the equivalent of Eagle Scouts.
Okay.
The leadership requirements for a quartermaster are going to be much to the same as Eagle. However, if you reach quartermaster, that means you've proven mastery of many sailing topics like navigation and marlinspike and seamanship and all of those.
What was the second one you said? Navigation?
Marlinspike.
Talk about that.
Okay, so marlinspike is basically rope work. So it's splicing the rope, which is where we connect ropes or different things, and making sure the ends don't fray, and different knots that we use along sailing, all of that stuff.
How many knots can you tie?
A lot. I don't know if I could count them all.
Oh my gosh. You need to write a book. A good friend of mine wrote a book on fishing knots. You should write a book on sailing knots. The next book on sailing knots. I bet there's at least one out there, huh?
Maybe I will.
All right, so back to sea scouting and not knot tying. I'm guessing you guys are pretty heavily involved, like the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are, in community service. Talk about that.
Yes, of course. So we do a lot of community events. We'll help down at our marina with events that they have. I know they do a boat show every year called Keels and Wheels, where all the profits go donated to charity. So we'll help organize that and have Sea Scouts around so that they can talk to them, and also help man boat tours on our own boat, the Point class. Of course, there's the community project requirement in quartermaster, much similar to Eagle Scout, where the scout has to create this whole project that benefits their community. And there's a bunch of guidelines that you have to complete, but yeah.
It's fantastic. How long, you're doing so well with all this stuff and been so decorated. How long do you think before you become the 5th woman admiral in the U.S. Navy?
I don't know if I'm going to actually take the military route going out as Sea Scouts, but I will say it will definitely help me wherever I go.
If you did, I think you would do very, very well. So if there's a teenager listening this morning, Jewell Norris, who'd like to get into Sea Scouts, what do they do?
So I would suggest you go to shac.org, and that's SHAC.org, and click the Join Scouting Today button. And then once it populates to the new page, click on the Sea Scout button, and that'll show you all of the ships in your area. And you can click one, learn about it, and then just go show up to a meeting.
The ships are the groups, too. Right, so they know the ships are the groups, kind of like the Boy Scout troops, right?
Yes. So the ships are the units, or the Boy Scout troops.
What's the name of your ship?
My ship is Ship 502, the SSS Invincible.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool. Jewell Norris, thank you very much for explaining Sea Scouts. I hope we can drum up a little more interest in that program, and I know you're doing very well at it. I wish you continued success. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
How cool is that? You guys fired up now? You want to go get in Sea Scouts?
Yeah, I'm ready to learn how to tie.
You know what? She glossed over the skill that it takes to know and use all those knots. And as a sailor, I'm not a sailor, but she is. As a sailor, not only do you have to know how to tie that knot, but you have to know how to tie it right now in rough water. You got water splashing all over you, and you need something, you need to batten down a hatch or whatever. You got to be able to tie that knot under duress, and that's not an easy thing to do. Hats off to her. I guarantee you she's put in a ton of work. She has put in a ton of work to earn the rank she holds, and congratulations. Get involved. That's a cool program. It really is. I did a little research on it, and I wish I'd have thought about that when I was a little kid. Okay, I'm going to tell you.